black vehicle speeding westbound on 79th Street in the 1000 block began firing at attendees of a funeral. At that time, the attendees of the funeral exchanged gunfire with the black vehicle. Black vehicle then turned northbound down Carpenter. Upon going northbound down Carpenter, they continued to fire at the attendees of the funeral, at which time the vehicle midway down the block crashed and came to a halt. The occupants of the vehicle then exited in multiple directions and fled. We currently have a person of interest being interviewed by area detectives at the area. Out of this incident, there are 14 victims being treated at 5 separate area hospitals. Conditions are unknown at this time. We currently, the detectives will be conducting a canvass for the rest of this evening and early tomorrow. We are hoping that the community, if you have any video or anybody that knows anything, will help the detectives in their canvass and offer any information that can help solve this crime.
How many shots were fired and how many shooters do you think there were?
Currently, right now, we have 60 shell casings on the scene. Shooters are unknown at this time for the exchange between the attendees of the funeral and those that were in the vehicle. So right now that's still being looked at by detectives.
Do you have an idea of the ages of these victims, those who may have been attending? Do you have children involved at this point?
At this time we have no known juvenile victims. All are adults at this moment.
First Deputy, funerals are often targeted in gang conflicts. Have these two groups had interactions with each other in the past, and is that the theory as to motive this evening?
That's currently being investigated by the Detective Division.
Who was the funeral for?
Can't say at the moment.
I'm sorry if somebody asked this. Can you talk about a motive yet?
No, sir. Right now we have no motive. The detectives are looking into that. They're investigating that part of it.
Anybody in the vehicle?
Unknown at this time. All occupants of the vehicle fled in multiple directions, so we have one person of interest in custody. Right now they don't have any injuries, so we're still investigating that.
Sir, how shocked are you at the size, the amount of shots that were fired here, and the level of violence? It seems to be even more than what we're used to.
Right now, the shell casings and the scene still being investigated, but we'll go further from there.
And to be clear, you have multiple people. You have people in the black car shooting and those who were attending the funeral shooting. At any point, are any of your victims just people that were on the street? Do we believe we have everyone that was involved in this?
Right now, it's unknown if anyone was not a part of the funeral or a part of the vehicle. So out of the 14 victims, it's unknown right now if there were any innocent bystanders, so to speak, on the street that were in passing.
Was there any police presence at the funeral before this all happened?
There is a car that was assigned for the funeral.
Why was that?
That was assigned by the district commander, just as a precaution, because of the size of the funeral.
Could they have done more to prevent this?
That's being looked at.
Was there prior knowledge that this was a possibility? The community activists said that they gave you guys a warning as recently as today that this was a real possibility. Was that something that you guys were aware of?
Not aware of who the community activist is that you're speaking of, but the commander of the district took every precaution that he could.
Were all those 14 victims shot? All those 14 victims, were they shot?
Right now, we're waiting on the results back from the area hospitals, but so far, it appears that they all just sustained some injury as a result of it. We're not sure if it's all gunshot wounds or not. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. First deputy said there was 14. They were at like 5 area hospitals: University of Chicago, Little Company Mary. Christ.
Okay, coming back here live. Let's keep an eye on that scene, though, just in case anyone else approaches that microphone. Latest information is one person, one potential shooter in custody, person of interest, 14 victims, 14 individuals wounded outside of this funeral/memorial service today, just after 6:30 in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood in the south side, 79th and Carpenter. The 14 victims are at 5 different hospitals. That number, I'm told, could actually be higher because potentially some of the quote-unquote shooters may have been wounded. We know one is in custody. We know others may not be. Something else we learned there officially, and sources have told me earlier, is that they were forewarned potentially that there could be a retaliatory strike at this funeral memorial service. So they actually had a CPD car and CPD personnel there when this all went south. Now, that's not atypical. That happens often in funerals where sometimes there are gang tensions, so on and so forth. But we know that was the case today, is they had some pre-warning that something may go wrong, and it indeed went wrong. 14 victims, 5 different hospitals, at least 60 shell casings. One can only imagine the amount of gunfire that happened at 6:30 just outside of that funeral/memorial service. The deputy superintendent not saying much beyond that. This has now become a major crime investigation, one of the largest mass shootings as we look into the history here, one of the largest mass shootings that we can recall in Chicago. Here is some of the video from earlier today. You can see this was a bar across the street that turned into a triage area, Cookie's Cocktail Lounge, a popular spot down in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood. And you can see just how many people are being triaged at one point in time. Chaotic. People helping, you know, you see it appears mothers are helping, cops are helping, paramedics are helping. We know, we have confirmed that CFD, their ambulances, they run the ambulance system, their paramedics do, they transferred 11 individuals, 9 of those from the 79th Street and Carpenter area. 2 of the others were apparently trying to self-transport, take themselves to the hospital when they were picked up by an ambulance and taken to the hospital. And now we know 1 other, but we believe these numbers can change. They have changed all night. So we believe 14 people shot, as heinous as that is. That will be the lowest it will go. It could probably only go higher, sources at the scene are telling me, considering how many potential shooters are on the loose. 60 shots definitely takes more than 1 individual. And again, the deputy superintendent didn't comment there specifically, but sources are telling us this was a funeral/memorial service for a shooting victim. In the video I think we have just coming up here, you can also see some of the officers in fatigues. Now, actually, we've got some different video now. Can we go live back to the scene, see what we have there? So we were told all night we would hear from police. We were certainly expecting, after an event like that taking place, 14 people shot outside of a funeral, we would hear more than just kind of the tertiary glance, just the facts, ma'am, and nothing but the facts. But that's all we heard. 1 person of interest in custody, 14 victims, 5 different hospitals, and 60 shell casings. And if anyone has any video, let CPD know. Those were the 5 points that we now take away here at 8:43, some 2 hours and 15 minutes after the shooting began in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood. We will have the latest tonight coming up in a number of live reports at 10 o'clock on a CBS 2 News. For now, reporting live in the CBS 2 newsroom, I'm Brad Edwards, CBS 2.
This has been breaking news from CBS 2.